3 weeks had passed since Jiho first entered the storage room with the creature, and the mining colony had become a completely different place. The massive beast now had a name that it had chosen for itself through its light patterns, the glowing. Symbols seemed to mean Star Walker, which fit perfectly for a creature whose markings looked like flowing galaxies. Star Walker had proven to be even more intelligent than anyone had imagined. The creature could understand complex instructions given. Through a combination of spoken words and hand signals, it had learned to recognize different people by their scent and voice, and had developed favorite treats that the miners now brought as gifts. The mining operation had been completely reorganized around Star Walker's needs and abilities. The old ultrasonic drilling equipment had been replaced with quieter machines that worked just as well, but did not cause the creature pain. Special areas of the mountain had been set aside as Star Walkers. Territory where no mining would ever take place. In return, Star Walker had revolutionized the entire mining process. The creature's enhanced senses could detect valuable mineral deposits from incredible distances. Its knowledge of the cave system had revealed new passages and chambers that contained some of the richest deposits ever found on the planet. The beast would lead mining teams to the best locations, communicating through its light patterns when they were getting close to valuable materials. Star Walker could sense the difference between different types of metals and crystals, allowing the miners to focus their efforts on the most profitable areas. Supervisor Taro had become one of Star Walker's biggest supporters. The Carillion mining boss had initially been skeptical about working with the creature, but the results spoke for themselves. The colony's productivity had increased by 300% in just 3 weeks. Creature seemed to enjoy its new role as a guide and helper. Its light pattern showed excitement and pride when it successfully led miners to new deposits. Star Walker had found its purpose and was no longer the lonely, frightened beast that had attacked the mining equipment. Juagi and Dr. Hana had requested permission to stay at the mining colony to continue studying Star Walker and learning from Jiho's revolutionary approach to medicine. They were particularly interested in how the human veterinarian considered the emotional needs of his patients. The alien doctors had learned that healing was about much more than just treating physical symptoms. Understanding a patient's environment, psychology, and social needs was just as important as fixing injuries or diseases. This was a completely new concept in galactic medicine. Jiho had been invited to establish a new medical department at the Galactic Medical Station. The department would focus on what he called holistic medicine, treating the whole being rather than just individual symptoms. Many alien doctors wanted to learn these new techniques. The success with Star Walker had attracted attention from across the galaxy. Medical professionals from dozens of worlds were requesting to study under the human veterinarian, who had solved a problem that had baffled the most advanced alien sciences. Star Walker had also become famous throughout the galactic community. The creature was the first non-sentient species to be granted special partnership status with the Galactic Mining Consortium. This meant that Star Walker had legal rights and protections that had never been given to an animal before. The partnership had created a model that other colonies were eager to copy. Instead of seeing local wildlife as obstacles to be removed, mining and research operations were beginning to look for ways to work with native species. Many planets had unique animals with abilities that could help rather than hinder development. Dr. Hana had documented Star Walker's communication system in detail. The creature's light patterns formed a complex language with over 200 distinct symbols. Each pattern could be combined with others to create more complex meanings. The language was so sophisticated that it suggested Star Walker's species had a rich culture and history. The creature had begun sharing stories about its life through the light patterns. It told of other members of its species that lived in distant mountain ranges and of ancient caves filled with crystals that sang when the wind blew through them. Star Walker's tales painted a picture of a world far more complex and beautiful than anyone had imagined. Gesuf spent his evening sitting beside Star Walker in the creature's favorite spot overlooking the mining valley. The beast would show him patterns in its bioluminescent markings that mapped underground mineral veins in 3 dimensions, creating a living geological survey that was more accurate than any machine the human had taught the alien. Doctors that the most important medical tool was not a scanner or a surgical device, but the ability to listen and understand. Communication was the foundation of all healing, and sometimes the most advanced technology could not replace simple compassion. Star Walker had become a teacher as well as a partner. The creature's patient, gentle nature with the mining crews showed that intelligence and strength did not have to be threatening when treated with respect and understanding. Even the most powerful beings could become valuable allies. The mining colony now attracted visitors from across the galaxy who came to see the remarkable partnership between humans, aliens, and Star Walker. Children from many worlds learned about the importance of cooperation and understanding differences. Dr. Yuki had written several scientific papers about the case that were being studied in medical schools throughout the galaxy. The papers emphasized that sometimes the most primitive approaches could reveal truths that advanced technology missed. The Galactic Medical Council had officially recognized Jiho's work and had created new medical protocols based on his methods. The protocols required doctors to consider the psychological and environmental factors that might affect their patients, not just physical symptoms. Star Walker had become a symbol of what was possible when different species worked together. Instead of fearing each other, the creature's story was told on countless worlds as an example of how understanding could overcome prejudice and fear. As Jiho prepared to leave the mining colony to begin his new work at the Galactic Medical Station, he spent one last evening with Star Walker. The creature's light patterns showed deep blue and purple, indicating sadness at the human's departure, but also yellow and gold showing gratitude and affection. Human promised to return regularly to check on his patient and friend. Star Walker responded with a complex pattern of lights that seemed to say that their friendship would continue no matter how far apart they were. Dr. Yuki and Dr. Hana were also preparing to leave for their new studies at the medical station. They had learned more in 3 weeks with Jiho than in years of traditional medical training. The human had shown them that healing was an art as much as a science. Supervisor Taro hosted a farewell celebration for the 3 doctors. The entire mining crew attended along with Star Walker, who had learned to enjoy social gatherings. The creature's presence at the party showed how completely the situation had transformed. In his farewell speech, Jiho emphasized that the real hero of the story was not him but Star Walker. The creature had shown incredible patience and trust in allowing the humans and aliens to help it heal. The beast had turned potential enemies into friends through its gentle nature and willingness to cooperate as the transport ship prepared to take the doctors back to the medical station. Star Walker accompanied them to the landing pad. The creature's light patterns created a spectacular display of colors that seemed to be its way of saying goodbye and good luck. The story of Star Walker and the human veterinarian had become legendary. Throughout the galaxy, it proved that the greatest strength was not superior weapons or technology, but the ability to understand and connect with other forms of life. The partnership between the mining colony and Star Walker continued to thrive. Long after the doctors left, the creature became not just a guide, but a guardian of the mountain ecosystem, ensuring that mining operations remained sustainable and respectful of the natural world. Years later, when young doctors throughout the galaxy studied the case of Star Walker, they learned that sometimes the most important medical breakthrough came not from new technology, but from remembering that every patient, regardless of species, deserved compassion, understanding, and respect. The storage room felt different when Jiho stepped inside. The air was warm and humid from the creature's breathing, and there was a strange energy that made the hair on his arms stand up. The massive beast watched him with those swirling galaxy eyes but did not move from where it lay. Jiho spoke in a soft, gentle voice as he slowly walked closer to the creature. He explained each movement before he made it, telling the beast that he was there to help and that he would not hurt it. The human moved very slowly, keeping his hands visible at all times. Creature's glowing marks pulsed in response to Jiho's voice. The colors shifted from the angry reds back to calmer blues and purples. The pattern seemed to flow across its body like water. Responding to the human's calm-toned Yuki and Dr. Hannah watched through the window in amazement. They had expected the creature to attack immediately, but instead it seemed genuinely curious about the small human who had entered its space, the beast's massive head moved closer to Jiho, but there was no aggression in the movement. Jiho reached into his worn leather bag and pulled out one of the treats he had brought. The dried meat looked tiny in his hand compared to the enormous creature, but he offered it anyway, explaining in his gentle voice that it was food and that he hoped the creature would like it. The beast sniffed the air around the treat with nostrils that were bigger than Jiho's entire head. The creature's sense of smell was clearly incredible because it could detect the food from several feet away. After a moment of consideration, the massive creature delicately took the treat with the very tip of its tongue. Hannah gasped as she watched this interaction. No one had ever seen the creature behave so gently. It had destroyed mining equipment worth millions of credits, but it took a small piece of food from a human with the care of a butterfly landing on a flower. Jiho began examining the creature while continuing to speak in soothing tones. He used his simple stethoscope to listen to its heartbeat and breathing. The sounds were unlike anything he had heard before, but the rhythm told him that the creature was finally starting to relax. The human noticed that certain areas around the creature's head and ears seemed swollen and irritated. When he gently touched these areas, the beast's glowing marks flashed brighter for a moment, indicating pain or discomfort. Yuki realized that these were exactly the areas that would be most affected by ultrasonic frequencies. The creature had been suffering from something like a constant severe headache for who knows how long. The pain had driven it to attack the source of the sound, which was the mining equipment. Jiho asked Dr. Hannah to modify her medical scanners to work on different frequencies that would not hurt the creature's sensitive hearing. She was amazed to discover that once they adjusted their equipment, the creature became completely cooperative. Beast actually seemed to enjoy the gentle humming sounds that the modified medical equipment made. Its glowing marks pulsed in rhythm with the scanners, and it appeared to be trying to communicate through the light patterns on its body. Yuki began studying these light patterns more carefully. With Jiho's help, he started to understand that different colors and rhythms meant different things. Blue and purple seemed to indicate comfort and curiosity. Red and orange showed pain or fear. Yellow appeared to mean excitement or happiness. Through this new form of communication, they learned incredible things about the creature. It had been living in the mountain caves near the mining site for many years, probably decades. The recent expansion of the mining operation had destroyed its home and frightened away the animals it hunted for food. The ultrasonic drilling had not only caused the creature constant pain, but it also disrupted its ability to navigate. The beast used sound to find its way around the cave system, just like some animals on Earth used echolocation. The mining frequencies had essentially made it blind and confused. Hannah was fascinated by the creature's unique biology. Its scales could change color and brightness to communicate emotions and intentions. Its enhanced hearing allowed it to detect sounds from miles away. Its sense of smell was so advanced it could probably track individual scents across vast distances. Jiho worked with both alien doctors to develop a treatment plan that addressed not just the creature's physical injuries but also its emotional trauma. The human explained concepts that were new to alien medicine: the importance of making patients feel safe, the need to treat psychological wounds along with physical ones. The creature had been living in constant fear and pain for months as the mining operation expanded closer to its territory. It had tried to avoid contact with the miners at first, but eventually desperation had driven it to attack the source of its suffering. Supervisor Taro was growing impatient as he watched the healing process through the window. He needed his mining equipment to start working again, or his company would face serious financial problems. But he was also beginning to understand that this creature might be more than just a dangerous obstacle. suggested something that shocked everyone in the room. What if instead of trying to get rid of the creature, they found a way to work with it? The beast obviously knew the mountain cave system better than any survey equipment could map. It might be able to help the mining operation find the richest mineral deposits. The creature's enhanced senses could detect valuable metals and crystals deep underground. Its intimate knowledge of the cave structure could help the miners avoid dangerous areas and find new deposits that their equipment had missed. Dr. Yuki was excited by this possibility, but Dr. Hana worried about whether such cooperation was even possible. The creature was intelligent, but it was still a wild animal that had been traumatized by human activity. Spent hours working with the creature, teaching it to associate certain sounds and signals with positive experiences. He used food treats and gentle touches to reward calm behavior. The beast learned quickly, showing an intelligence that impressed all the observers. Called as ververs, the beast learned calm behavior. The beast learned quickly, showing an intelligence that impressed all the observers. Human also worked on healing the creature's injured ears and reducing the inflammation caused by constant exposure to painful sounds. The beast's natural healing abilities were remarkable, and with proper treatment the damage began to reverse quickly. As the creature healed physically, its emotional state also improved. The angry red glows disappeared from its body markings, replaced by curious yellows and content blues. It began making new sounds that were clearly attempts to communicate with the humans. Dr. Hana recorded everything she observed about the creature's communication methods. She realized they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history, the first successful attempt at two-way communication between humans and a completely unknown alien species supervisor. Taro finally agreed to try Jiho's cooperation plan, but only as a test. If the creature could really help locate mineral deposits while remaining peaceful, it might be worth modifying the mining operation to accommodate its needs. Healing process had taken most of the day, but by evening the creature was moving around the storage room with much more energy. Its glowing marks now pulsed with patterns that clearly indicated happiness and excitement. Jiho had proven that sometimes the simplest approach, understanding and compassion, could solve problems that advanced technology could not. The creature was not a monster to be feared or destroyed, but an intelligent being that needed help and understanding. As night fell on the mining colony, everyone involved realized they were about to embark on something completely new in galactic history, a true partnership between different species, based on mutual respect and communication. The mining colony storage room was huge and dark, with thick metal walls that were meant to hold the most dangerous materials. The air inside felt heavy and electric, making all three doctors feel uncomfortable as they approached the massive door. Dr. Yuki checked his scanner one more time before they entered. The readings were still going crazy, with numbers that changed every second. Dr. Hana activated the emergency shields on her medical equipment, hoping they would protect her instruments from activated the emergency shields on her medical equipment, hoping they would protect her instruments from Senhiden would protect her instruments from autohated the Americans. Whatever energy the creature was giving off, Supervisor Taro met them at the entrance to the storage room. His rocky gray skin looked even more worried than his voice had sounded over the communication system. The Carillion mining boss was known for being brave, but even he seemed nervous about what waited behind the thick metal door. The creature had been stirring for the past hour. Taro explained the sleeping medicine was wearing off faster than expected, and the beast's glowing marks were now so bright they could be seen through the small window in the door. The sounds it was making were getting louder and more frequent. Dr. Yuki peered through the reinforced window and immediately stepped back in shock. The creature was even more impressive and terrifying in person than it had appeared in the video recordings. Its massive body filled most of the storage room, and every breath it took made the walls seem to shake. The beast's scales were like pieces of black mirror that reflected the overhead lights in strange ways. The blue and purple lines running across its body pulsed with a rhythm that almost looked like a heartbeat. but much more complex. The patterns of light seemed to flow from its head down to its tail and back. Again, like rivers of stars, Jiho asked everyone to be very quiet as he approached the window. He studied the creature for several long minutes without saying anything. His calm expression never changed even when the beast's eyes suddenly opened. Creature's eyes were unlike anything the alien doctors had ever seen. They swirled with colors that seemed to come from deep space, purple and silver. Mixed together like tiny galaxies, the eyes were huge and seemed to look right through the window. Directly at the people watching, Dr. Hana gasped and reached for her emergency medical kit, but Jiho held up his hand asking her to wait. The human continued to watch the creature, carefully paying attention to every small movement it made. The beast tried to stand up, but its legs were still weak from the sleeping medicine. It managed to lift its massive head and look around the storage room with those incredible swirling eyes. The glowing marks on its body began pulsing faster, and the colors changed from blue and purple to bright yellow and red. Supervisor Taro immediately activated the emergency alarm system. The loud sirens filled the air, and red warning lights began flashing all around the storage area. Several security guards came running with weapons, ready to use more sleeping gas if needed. But something unexpected happened. Instead of becoming more aggressive, when the alarm started, the creature seemed to become more upset. The glowing marks on its body changed to deep red, and it began making sounds that were not angry roars, but something much sadder. Jiho quickly asked Turo to turn off the alarms. The mining supervisor hesitated because the alarms were their main safety system, but the human insisted that the loud sounds were making things worse. When the alarms finally stopped, the creature's behavior changed immediately. The red glow faded from its marks, and the sad crying sounds became quieter. The beast still looked around nervously, but it no longer seemed ready to attack. Taguchi was amazed by this change. He had assumed the creature was naturally aggressive, but now he wondered if something else was causing its violent behavior. The humans seemed to understand something that their advanced medical training had missed. Jiho asked Supervisor Taro about all the sounds and activities that happened around the mining site. The Carillion explained that they used powerful drilling machines that worked day and night. The machines used ultrasonic frequencies to break through the hardest rock formations. Human asked more questions about these ultrasonic frequencies, and Dr. Hana began to understand what Jiho was thinking. Many animals on different planets had much better hearing than most intelligent species. What if the mining equipment was creating sounds that hurt the creature's ears? Jioki quickly ran calculations on his scanner. The ultrasonic frequencies used by the mining equipment were far beyond what most species could hear. But if this creature had enhanced hearing, those same frequencies would be incredibly painful, like having someone scream directly into your ears all day and night. Jiho asked if he could enter the storage room to examine the creature more closely. Both alien doctors thought this was incredibly dangerous, but the human remained calm and confident. He explained that if the creature was in constant pain from the mining sounds, it would be more likely to trust someone who could help stop that pain. Supervisor Taro absolutely refused to allow anyone to enter the room with the creature. But Jiho pointed out that the beast had already shown it was less aggressive when the loud alarm sounds stopped. Maybe it would be even calmer if all the painful sounds were eliminated. The human convinced them to turn off all the ultrasonic mining equipment temporarily, just to see what would happen. Dr. Hana monitored the creature through the window as the mining machines powered down one by one. The change in the chi event one by one creature was dramatic as each machine stopped. The glowing marks on its body became less bright and changed from angry red colors back to the calmer blue and purple. The beast's breathing became slower and deeper, and the sad crying sounds stopped completely. Dr. Yuki realized that Jiho had been right. The creature was not naturally violent. It had been driven to desperate behavior because of constant pain. The ultrasonic mining equipment had been torturing it without anyone realizing what was happening. But now they faced a new problem. The mining equipment had to keep working, or the colony would lose millions of credits. Supervisor Taro could not afford to keep the machines turned off for very long, but if they started the machines again, the creature would go back to being aggressive and dangerous. Jiho suggested that he should try to communicate with the creature while the painful sounds were stopped. He believed that if they could understand what the beast needed, they might find a solution that would help both the creature and the mining operation. Dr. Hana thought this plan was still too dangerous, but she had to admit that the humans' insights had already taught them more about the creature than hours of advanced medical scanning. The beast was clearly intelligent, and its glowing marks seemed to be some form of communication. Ju prepared to enter the storage room with only his simple medical tools and some of the food treats he had brought. The alien doctors watched nervously as the human approached the door, knowing that one wrong move could result in disaster. The creature watched through the window as Jiho slowly opened the storage room door, its massive head tilted to one side like it was curious about this small being who was brave enough to enter its space. As the human stepped into the room with the creature, both alien doctors held their breath, wondering if they were about to witness either a breakthrough in interspecies communication or a terrible tragedy. The docking bay doors opened with a loud hiss, and Dr. Jiho Park stepped out of his small transport ship. He was not what Dr. Yuki and Dr. Hana had expected at all. The human was shorter than both alien doctors, with dark hair and kind eyes that seemed to take in everything around him at once. What shocked the alien doctors most was what Jiho carried with him. Instead of the advanced medical equipment they had hoped for, he held only a small worn leather bag that looked like it had seen many years of use. The bag was old and patched in several places, making it look almost primitive compared to their shining medical station. Yuki rushed forward to greet the human, his blue scales shimmering with nervous energy. He quickly began explaining how urgent their situation was. The creature was waking up faster than expected, and they had maybe 2 hours before it would be fully awake and possibly dangerous again. Jiho nodded slowly as he listened to Dr. Yuki, but his attention seemed divided. He kept looking around the medical station with curious eyes, taking in all the advanced equipment and glowing screens that covered every surface. The human seemed more interested in observing than in hearing about their emergency. Dr. Hana used 2 of her 4 arms to pull up holographic displays that showed the creature in real time. The beast was definitely stirring now. Its glowing marks pulsed brighter with each passing minute, and its massive body shifted restlessly in the storage room. Where it lay, that alien doctors watched in disbelief as Jiho opened his old leather bag and began pulling out what looked like ancient medical tools. There was a simple stethoscope made of metal and rubber, nothing like their advanced bioscanners that could read a patient from across the room. He also had basic syringes that looked handmade, and several small containers filled with what appeared to be food treats. The treats looked like dried meat or fish, nothing that seemed useful for treating a dangerous alien creature. Dr. Yuki could not hide his disappointment. He had hoped the human would bring some revolutionary technology, or at least equipment that was not hundreds of years out of date. The tools Jiho carried looked like something from a museum display about primitive medicine. Dr. Hana was more direct in expressing her doubts. She pointed to their wall of advanced medical equipment that could perform surgery without even touching a patient, heal wounds with energy beams, and analyze any creature down to its smallest parts. How could simple tools like Jiho carried possibly help where their technology had failed? Jiho smiled at their concerns, but did not seem offended. He explained that sometimes the most advanced tools were not always the best tools for every job. His voice was calm and patient as he spoke, which somehow made both alien doctors feel a little less worried. Human asked to see all the data they had collected about the creature. Dr. Yuki quickly showed him the holographic displays that contained hours of observations, readings, and measurements. The information filled the air around them with glowing charts and graphs, but instead of studying the technical data like the alien doctors expected, Jiho focused on the video recordings of the creature. He watched the footage of the beast attacking the mining equipment over and over again, Rewinding certain parts and studying them carefully, Dr. Hana pointed out the most frightening parts of the recordings: the creature's massive claws tearing through metal like paper, its powerful jaws that could crush rock, the way its eyes glowed with what looked like pure rage, and Dr. Jiho nodded as he watched, but his expression was thoughtful rather than frightened. He asked questions that surprised the alien doctors. Instead of asking about the creature's strength or weapons, he wanted to know about its body language and movements. Human pointed out details that Dr. Yuki and Dr. Hana had not noticed before. He showed them how the creature's ears moved when certain sounds were made, how its glowing marks changed patterns when different things happened around it, the way its tail positioned itself during the attack. Most surprisingly, Jiho pointed out that in all the footage, the creature had many chances to hurt the human miners, who were running away, but it never tried to attack them directly. Instead, it focused all its aggression on the loud, noisy machines. Dr. Yuki argued that this did not matter because the creature was still extremely dangerous. It had destroyed equipment worth millions of credits, and its very presence was making all their instruments malfunction. How could they safely approach something so unpredictable? Gio listened to their concerns, but then asked a question that made both alien doctors pause. He wanted to know what sounds the mining equipment made and whether anyone had checked if those sounds might be bothering the creature. Dr. Hana looked confused by the question. Their medical scans had not found anything wrong with the creature's hearing. Why would sounds matter when dealing with such a physically powerful beast? Human explained that on his home planet Earth, many animals became aggressive when they were in pain or frightened. Sometimes the pain came from things that were hard to see, like sounds that hurt their ears or smells that made them sick. This was a completely new idea to the alien doctors. Their advanced medicine focused on treating obvious injuries and diseases. They had never considered that a creature might be acting dangerous because something in its environment was causing it. Discomfort. Supervisor Taro's voice suddenly crackled through the communication system. His gruff tone was filled with impatience and anger. The Carillion mining boss wanted to know when the doctors would fix their creature problem. His workers were afraid to go back to work, and every hour of delay was costing his company money. Dr. Yuki tried to explain that they were working with a human specialist, but Taro's response was not encouraging. The mining supervisor had heard about human medicine before and considered it primitive and unreliable. How could simple human methods solve a problem that advanced alien science could not handle? Jiho asked to speak directly with Supervisor Taro. The human's voice remained calm and polite as he explained that he would like to examine the creature in person. He promised to be careful and not to make the situation worse. Taro was skeptical, but agreed to let the human try. His only condition was that Jiho had to work quickly. The creature was getting more active with each passing hour, and soon it might be too dangerous for anyone to approach. Dr. Yuki and Dr. Hana exchanged worried looks as they prepared to transport down to the mining colony. They had serious doubts about whether Jiho's simple methods could succeed where their advanced technology had failed, but they were also curious to see what the human would do. His calm confidence was unusual, and his different way of looking at their problem had already made them think about things they had missed. As they prepared to leave the medical station, Jiho packed his simple tools back into his worn leather bag. He also selected several of the treats he had brought, explaining that food could sometimes help calm frightened animals. The alien doctors watched in amazement as the human showed no fear about facing the dangerous creature. Instead, he seemed genuinely excited about the challenge ahead of him. Dr. Hana asked Jiho if he was nervous about approaching such a powerful and unpredictable beast. The human smiled and said that in his experience, the most dangerous animals were usually just the most frightened ones. This statement made no sense to either alien doctor. How could something so large and destructive be afraid of anything? But they had run out of other options, and time was running short as their transport ship prepared to leave for the planet below. Dr. Yuki wondered if they were making a terrible mistake by trusting their emergency to a human with primitive tools. Soon, They would find out if Jiho's confidence was justified, or if they were about to make their dangerous situation even worse. The alarm bells rang loud across the galactic medical station, floating in space around planet Kepler 442b. The red warning lights flashed on every wall and ceiling, making everything look scary. Yuki ran down the long metal hallway, his blue scaled hands holding a data pad that showed urgent messages. His heart beat fast as he read the words that made no sense. A creature had been captured, not just any creature, but something the galaxy had never seen before. Dr. Hana was already in the main medical room when Dr. Yuki arrived. She was a tall alien with smooth gray skin and 4 arms that moved like water. Her big black eyes looked worried as she stared at the huge screens showing data that kept changing every second. The mining colony on the planet below had sent a desperate message an hour ago. Their biggest mining machine had stopped working. Something massive had attacked it, leaving deep claw marks in the metal that was supposed to be unbreakable. The workers had run away screaming about a monster with glowing marks on its body, but that was not the strangest part. The creature had not run away after destroying the machine. Instead, it had stayed there, making loud crying sounds that could be heard from miles away. The sounds were so sad and scary that even the bravest miners could not go near it. Colony security team had finally managed to put the creature to sleep using their strongest sleeping gas. It had taken enough gas to knock out 50 normal animals, but the beast had finally fallen down. Now it lay in their biggest storage room, and nobody knew what to do with it. Yuki looked at the first pictures that came from the colony. His hands shook as he saw the creature. The beast was huge, almost as tall as 2 grown humans standing on top of each other. Its body was covered in black scales that looked like pieces of night sky. Each scale reflected light in a way that hurt the eyes to look at directly. The creature had 4 legs as thick as tree trunks, and each foot had claws longer than a human arm. The claws looked sharp enough to cut through anything. The creature's head was long like a wolf, but much bigger, with teeth that glowed white in the dark pictures. But the most strange thing about the creature was the marks on its body. Lines of blue and purple light ran across its scales like rivers of stars. The lights moved and changed, making patterns that seemed to mean something. But nobody could understand what. Dr. Hana touched the screen, with one of her 4 hands zooming in on the creature's face. Even while sleeping, the beast looked angry and sad at the same time. Its eyes were closed, but the area around them was swollen like it had been crying for a long time. The medical data from the colony made both doctors feel sick. The creature's blood was unlike anything in their computers. It had chemicals that would kill most known life forms just by touching them. The creature's heart beat in a rhythm that was completely wrong compared to every other animal they knew. Yuki tried to run the creature's information through the galactic database that contained details about millions of life forms from across the universe, but the computer kept showing error messages. The creature did not match anything that had ever been found before. The communication system crackled to life, and Supervisor Taro's angry voice filled the room. He was the head of the mining colony, and he did not sound happy at all. His species, the Carillions, were known for being tough and not afraid of anything. But even his voice shook when he talked about the creature. The beast had to be moved or dealt with quickly. Taro explained the creature's presence was doing something strange to all. Their equipment machines that had worked perfectly for years were now breaking down or acting crazy. Whenever they got near the storage room where the creature slept, even worse, the creature's body gave off some kind of energy that made all their sensors go wild. Their computers could not get accurate readings on anything within 100 feet of the beast. This meant they could not do their mining work properly, and they were losing money every hour. Yuki and Dr. Hana looked at each other with worry. They were 2 of the best doctors in the galaxy. Dr. Yuki had saved the lives of creatures from over 50 different worlds. Dr. Hana had performed surgery on life forms that other doctors said were impossible to help, but this creature was different. They had never seen anything like it in all their years of medical training. Every time they tried to understand the data from the colony, their instruments gave them different answers. It was like the creature's body followed rules of science that nobody had discovered, yet the sleeping medicine that had knocked out the creature was already starting to wear off. The colony reported that the creature's glowing marks were getting brighter, and it was starting to move slightly in its sleep. Soon it would wake up and nobody knew what it would do. Yuki paced back and forth across the medical room. His mind raced through everything he had learned in medical school, but nothing helped him understand this creature. Dr. Hana used her 4 arms to work on multiple computers at once, trying to find any information that might help them. Time was running out. Creature could wake up at any moment, and if it was as dangerous as the report said, it might hurt someone or destroy more equipment. The colony had already spent millions of credits on the mining machines that the creature had damaged. They could not afford to lose more. Yuki stopped pacing and looked at Dr. Hana with a strange expression on his face. He remembered something he had heard at a medical conference months ago. Another doctor had mentioned meeting a human who worked with dangerous animals. Humans were strange creatures that most aliens did not understand. They came from a planet called Earth, and they had unusual ways of doing things. Most alien doctors thought human medicine was too simple and not advanced enough, but Dr. Yuki remembered the story about the human who had somehow helped a creature that other doctors could not heal. The human had used methods that seemed crazy, but had worked when nothing else did. Dr. Hana looked doubtful when Dr. Yuki suggested calling the human. She pointed out that humans did not have the advanced medical technology that they used. Human doctors still used simple tools that looked like toys compared to their sophisticated equipment, but they were running out of choices. Creature was unlike anything they had ever seen, and their advanced medicine was not helping at all. Maybe someone with a completely different way of thinking could see something they were missing. Dr. Yuki made the call to the Outer Rim Research Facility where the human worked. The communication took several minutes to connect across the vast distance of space. When the human finally answered, Dr. Yuki quickly explained their emergency situation. The human listened carefully without interrupting. When Dr. Yuki finished explaining about the dangerous creature and their failed attempts to help it, the human was quiet for a long moment. Then the human said something that surprised both alien doctors. He said he would come right away, but he needed to bring his special equipment. Dr. Yuki and Dr. Hana looked at each other, wondering what kind of special equipment a human could have that their advanced medical station did not already possess. The human warned them that his methods might seem strange to them, but asked them to trust him. Dr. Yuki agreed, even though he was not sure they were making the right choice. As they waited for the human to arrive, Dr. Yuki and Dr. Hana watched the reports from the colony. The creature was definitely waking up, and its glowing marks were getting brighter and brighter. Soon, they would find out if the human could help or if they had just made their problem worse.